Hello and welcome back. This is Saxon Math Lesson 68, Dividing Mixed Numbers. Recall the 3 steps to solve an arithmetic problem with fractions. Step 1 is put the problem into the correct shape if it's not already in that shape. Step 2, perform the operation indicated. Step 3, simplify the answer. In this lesson, we'll practice dividing mixed numbers. Recall from lesson 66 that the correct shape for multiplying and dividing fractions is fraction form. So when dividing, we first write any mixed numbers or whole numbers as improper fractions. Example 1. Shauna is pouring 2 2/3 cups of plant food into equal amounts of feed for plants. How much plant food is there for each plant? So she wants to have each of those equally divided up. She has 2 2/3 cups of plant food. So it's 2 2/3 divided by 4. What needs to be rewritten, this needs to be in the shape. So if we're looking at the SOS again, shape, order, or shape, operate, and simplify. You need to change this into an improper fraction. So 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8, and it'd be thirds. We'd have to multiply by the reciprocal of 4 over 1, which is what that is. The reciprocal of 4 over 1 would be 1 over 4. So this would be our new problem that we would want to use. So when you do that, you rewrite them as 8/3 divided by 4 over 1, and you have to remember that to divide by a fraction, you have to multiply by the reciprocal. So you'd end up with 8/3 times 1/4, like we have here, which is 8 over 12. You could do like what I like to do when I see these kinds of things, this relationship here. 8 divided by 4 is the same as 2 over 1, and 2 times 1 would be 2, and 3 times 1 would be 3. You see, we'd end up with a reduced fraction already. So that's what we're looking at right there. So once you simplify the answer, you'd see that you have 2/3 cups for each plant. All right. Example 2, divide 2 2/3, or 2 2/3 and 1 1/2. So 2 2/3 divided by 1 1/2. You need to look at the shape again. 2 2/3 is the same as 8/3 because 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8, 8 over 3. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 makes 3, so this would be 3 over 2. Once you've got that much, now you need to change this to multiply by the reciprocal. So 8/3 times 2/3 would be the same as 16/9. And to find what 16/9 is as a mixed number, you just need to divide it. And you can see 9 will go in there one time, you subtract that, you'd end up with 7. 7 would be the numerator, 9 would be the denominator. 1 7/9 would be the answer to that one. All right, let's try a few of these. Letter A, 1 3/5 divided by 4. Go ahead and do that one. So first, you got to start with a shape, and the shape is 5 times 1, which is 5, plus 3 makes 8/5 in this case. The 5 is the denominator. This one would be 4 over 1. We have to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 1 over 4. Now you can see there's a relationship between this 8 and this 4 right here. 8 divided by 4 is the same as 2 over 1. And if you do that, you end up with a reduced fraction answer right off the bat. 2 times 1 is 2, and 5 times 1 is 5. So A would be 2/5. If you didn't reduce it, you would have ended up with 8 times 1, which is 8 and 20. And you'd have to recognize both of those are divisible by 4. And you'd end up with 2/5 in the end anyway. All right, letter B. 1/4 of, which means times, 1 3/5. So 1/4 times 1 3/5. That's the same as 1/4 times 5 plus 3 makes 8/5. And we can see that there's going to be another, we could reduce right away off the bat here. I see this 8 in the numerator and this 4 in the denominator can reduce because 8, it'd be just like saying 8 divided by 4. And I'd end up with, in this case, 2 and 1 again. And I'd still end up with the same answer here. So this would be 2/5 also for letter B. All right, letter C. 2 2/5 divided by 3. So starting with the shape, I need to convert this into 10 plus 2 makes 12. And the denominator is a 5. And I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of 3 over 1, which is 1 over 3. All right. And I see another pattern here, this 12 and this 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4 over 1. So now I know the answer to this one is simply 4/5. And if I didn't recognize that right off the bat, that would have been 12/15, and that would have been reduced to 4/5 because both are divisible by 3. If I divide this one by 3 and divide this one by 3, I would end up with 4/5 anyway. All right, letter D. 1/3 of, which means times in math, 2 2/5. Again, I need to change the shape. So I have 1/3 times, this would be 10 plus 2 makes 12/5. When I multiply those, I can see that this 12 divided by this 3 ends up being 4 over 1. So 4 over 1 is simply going to result in our reduced fraction answer right off the bat, because 1 times 4 and 1 times 5 now, you've got the numerator is 4, the denominator is 5. This would be 4/5. In letter E, why is dividing by 4 the same as multiplying by 1/4? So if you are looking at this one, you've got dividing by 4 is the same as multiplying by 1/4. Just answer that to the best of your ability. All right, so if I was going to look at this, let's say I've got 12, and 12 divided by 4 is the same as 12 times 1 over 4. Why is it the same? Because when you divide by a whole number, you have to convert this into multiplying. So this would just stay 12, this part, but we'd have to convert that to multiplying by the reciprocal. And look, it just ends up being the same as multiplying by 1/4. Because if you're dividing by 4, that's essentially what's happening here. You've got 12 over 1. So the numerator times the numerator and the denominator times the denominator results in 12 over 4. So you'd end up with 3 in this case, and this is also going to be 3. So dividing by 4 is the same as multiplying by 1/4. It wouldn't really matter what this number is, it would match up to the denominator here, and we'd have a 1 in the numerator. So whatever it is, you could always multiply by the reciprocal of that whole number being 1 over that whole number. All right, excellent work. You can make sure you do lesson 68, 1 through 30 again. Remember how important it is to do all 30 problems in Saxon math. That's the way the publishers, that's the way the editors, that's why the way the authors all designed it, so that you would get that practice for each of the previous lessons. If you skip any or you only do half, you are not getting the practice required to learn the concept. All right, have a great day, and we'll see you next time.